Hey there, youth and youth families. Welcome back to this time of Table Talk, where we hang out together and we are talking about spiritual disciplines. That's right, we are getting our spiritual workout on, and you can consider me your exercise buddy here as we are working out our spiritual disciplines. This week, again, we're going to cover one that I wonder if you've ever thought of it as being a spiritual discipline. I think it's really important because it's certainly something that we need to practice, and it is submission. I wonder, have you ever been in a situation where it's really hard to identify who's in charge? Let's say a teacher is a little late. In fact, I even heard stories recently of teachers that didn't even show up to a class just with all the confusion of online stuff or whatever. And students were kind of left there to sit. And after a little while, what happens? Chaos breaks out, right? You guys are all really nice people, and you've got all this common courtesy, and so you guys would never do this. You'd be the respectable students, but you know there's a few in the class that would just like to have a little more fun, and it doesn't take long and things get a little bit zooey. I wonder if you've had a situation like this, a time where you can kind of reflect and capture this sort of image. That's kind of what people are like. Right? You got that picture in mind? Well, God knew about this right from the get-go, right from day one, that humans would need leadership. And as much as we need leadership, one of the things I recognize, think about this one for a little bit. As much as I know that I need leadership, I don't really like to come under leadership. We like what we call autonomy, right? Some independence. We like to be in self-control, like control of our own life, right? And it's kind of strange because if your experience is anything like mine and you put more than one person in a room who really wants to maintain control or be in control, what happens? That chaos that we talked about, right? Or conflict. And I'm sure we could come up with all kinds of other C words that would arrive at conundrums. I don't know. Anyway, as people, and I'm thinking the world here, our culture, I think we've tried hard to manage these selfish ambitions, this need for control. Best idea that we've kind of come up with is something like democracy, right? Which is basically doing what most people think is the best idea. And it still focuses on our self-centeredness and our desire to be in control, right? But it just prioritizes the desires of the majority. However, this can be really challenging, and where democracy doesn't always work well is what happens when there is a minority group who are better advocates. And all of a sudden, the vocal minority, it kind of just makes a lot of noise, and you kind of go like, hey, am I kind of weird here? Am I thinking something completely different? When really it's just the voice of a few that are just really interrupting everything. Or another challenge that we face when we kind of govern ourselves this way is, what happens if the majority isn't actually right? What if their ideas aren't the best ideas? You know, I've been to countries where Christians, unlike here in Canada, where we kind of feel we still make up a majority, in other countries it might be a minority, right? And so the approach is completely different. They might have the right ideas on how to live life, but their government might not see it because, you get what I'm kind of saying. These are things that we see all throughout Scripture. God actually had a better idea in the whole realm of how do we do leadership amongst us as people, and it's called submission. Submission is basically when we surrender our selfish desires to another person or a system of leadership. And it's incredibly important, but often forgotten spiritual discipline. It's a practice, right? Something that we need to work at. There are people or groups that I feel the Bible calls us to surrender or submit to, that I'd like to highlight over the next couple days. And one of the things I want to just acknowledge is that they're packaged in all kinds of different ways than our context might kind of reflect most clearly. But, and I'm not going to really kind of cover an exhaustive list of things, but I do want to just take a few of the things that I think are most relevant for us right here, right now, the things I can cover in 3 sessions, and present those to you. The 3 groups or people that I want to talk a little bit about is I want to talk about submitting to God. First of all, that's the easiest, the most obvious. The next is to authority. And we can talk about things that come under authorities are like things like governments, elders, parents. That's probably what we're going to talk most about. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like for us to submit to one another, all right, in our relationships and that sort of thing. So you're probably already wondering, okay, submission, is this really the week that I want to listen to? And it might be challenging, but don't be worried about this totally. We're going to start off really nice and easy here with a little bit of an exercise. Why don't you try this? You've already got your curbside pickup bag. Hopefully, if you haven't got it, come on down to the church. We've got extra for you. Inside your curbside pickup bag, you're going to find a bag of microwave popcorn, a couple cans of soda, and a suggestion. And I know some of you already parade yourself away from Netflix, and I congratulate you, way to go. And maybe some of you are just cruising through your Instagram feed, and I'm gonna encourage you to tear yourself away from it because I want you to take and shock someone in your household. Yes, I want you to think of someone who might least expect it, or just pick the person that's closest to you and invite them to come with you and enjoy some popcorn. You pop that bag of popcorn, let them choose whichever soda they want, all right? And why don't you enjoy some entertainment together with them? You just practice this act of submission where you kind of put your desires secondary to theirs. What do they want to do? Maybe it's a younger sibling and you're going to play a board game with them. Or maybe it's someone who's been wanting you to watch a romantic comedy with them, a chick flick, and you're not usually the one to kind of surrender to that, but maybe today you will. Or, you know, just find something that you can do just to enjoy them and putting them first. And as you do that, enjoy that time. And I wonder, as you're just kind of thinking this through, where else could you apply this attitude of surrender as you're thinking about submission in your home? Maybe it's a spontaneous round of dishes or an unsolicited vacuuming of the floor, or you could really shock someone with some sort of act of random kindness in your house. You know, go out there, start to get creative, let us know how it's going, and we'll regroup with you tomorrow as we talk about submission to God. Hey, blessings on your day.